And we just stuck a sandwich board outside the office at Fit Property saying, students will pay bills, any property, come and ask us how. And within like minutes, we had people like say, basically, what's this? And the first few customers were paying us cash. Like, they'd come in every week with like 50 quid. There was no website, there was no technology. It was like a whiteboard with this address, gas bill paid, yep.
And that is traction.
Welcome to Unicorns and Workhorses. I'm Carl, and in this episode, Chris and Ash, two of the co-founders of Mina, discuss the early days of Mina, taking it from idea into reality, and how their past experiences really helped define the business and how they approach things, from building a team, getting investment, through to the challenges that they faced at times. And they've got some really sound advice for anybody who's looking at going on that similar journey. So whether you're a founder, an investor, or you're just curious and you've got an idea that you can't get rid of, this conversation's for you. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome, Ash. Thank you. Thanks for giving up your time to come and talk to us.
Thank you.
And I guess quite a big point career-wise, life-wise at the moment. When this video goes out, you'll have left Corpay, who acquired Mina, which we both founded 5-6 years ago. I got out earlier than you did, but you stayed around a bit longer. How does it feel?
It's weird, isn't it? It's like the time you look forward to, or you're like almost counting down the weeks towards, thinking, right, this is it, this is what we've been working for, and then it happens, and it feels like a bit of an anticlimax. It's like, right, okay, now what?
And I think that's kind of, I mean, the whole process of exiting a business is almost, tiny violin, but anticlimax after anticlimax, right?
Yeah, I think it's so relatable to anything. Did the Sheffield Half Marathon at the weekend, training for 6 months to get a time, you get it, and you're like, hey, and then it's like, right, next year.
What's next?
What's next, yeah.
Absolutely. So, do you know what's next for you?
I always said I'm going to have the summer off, do nothing, just enjoy having some time away from work, but that's not going to happen. I've already started thinking quite a bit about the property conveyancing space.
Yeah.
Because from experience, and you feel this, and everyone who's ever bought and sold a house says it's really painful. And it seems like there's so much opportunity to bring that into 2025.
Yeah.
But maybe it's impossible, right? Everybody says, it's like this for a reason. But that's kind of what keeps drawing me back to it. I keep thinking, well, there must be some way of making this better.
And I want to come back to that in a bit, but there's a good parallel, I guess, with where you are now and this idea of an idea in your head, which no doubt's been kind of sat in there for quite a number of weeks and months. When we met the first time end of 2019, and we'd never met before. We met through Sheffield Digital, and we just went for a drink. But when we met, it was a similar position, right? You'd had an idea in your head, probably for a bit longer with Mina. And I suppose I'm interested in the position you were in there, maybe any parallels with the position you are now. But for you, what was the process of going from the idea for Mina and actually starting to make it happen?
Good question. I always struggled, and I probably only realise this now looking back, in making an idea happen. Like, how do you actually do the do? I'm not really good at doing the do. So when I met you, I think it's kind of a light bulb moment of, here's somebody who can actually turn this idea in my head and put it on paper and help bring it to life. So reflecting on that, and even reflecting on the last 5 years, I think I've spent 5 years learning what I'm really good at and what I'm really bad at. So in terms of what next in the position I'm in now, and can we get this property conveyancing company off the ground? I'm looking for a team of people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to learn about conveyancing, but I totally understand I'm not going to be an expert that knows every detail. I've just figured out there's a problem. I need to find people that can help solve it, believe there's a problem to be solved.
So what was different about when kind of you had this idea for Mina and you wanted to start it versus the kind of 2 or 3 businesses that you'd had before? Was there something in your head that said, I need to do this differently than what I've done before? Or was it just kind of, I don't know, fatigue from having kind of run these businesses? Why did you feel like you needed a different approach?
I think with the other 2 businesses, they were very easy businesses to just start. So first business was essentially a property lettings management business. If I was going to start that business again today, there's no way I could have done what I did then, because it's covered in red tape and regulation now. Like back then it was, this person is trying to let this house. I'll give them a call and see if I can help.
Right.
And we'd stick an advert on Facebook or move a tenant in, take some cash off them as a deposit,
Right.
stick it in a drawer. You know, this stuff was just not allowed then. So, and it was probably a huge amount of naivety that helped get that business going. Split the bills. We started to split the bills because 2 of us were having a conversation in Fit Property saying there's a huge problem with students paying bills, that was falling out about it. Wouldn't it be great if we just paid the bills for them and they paid us? And I don't know what the time like between that conversation was and us doing what I'm about to tell you, but it probably was only a few hours, if not a day.
Oh, wow.
And we just stuck a sandwich board outside the office at Fit Property saying, students will pay bills, any property, come and ask us how. Within like minutes, we had people, like I say, basically, what's this? And the first few customers were paying us cash. Like, they'd come in every week with like 50 quid.
Yeah.
There was no website, there was no technology. It was like a whiteboard with this address, gas bill paid, yep. You know.
And for anyone watching this, that is traction. Like, if you have an idea and you want to go and grow a business, or you want to get investment, or you want to kind of convince people that it's a winner, that's the kind of traction that you want to see early, isn't it? You want to put something out into the world and see some positive feedback immediately.
Yeah, exactly. You start out in this place where you think you need an app or you need some technology, and that is where we were with Mina. That's kind of, I think I'd fallen into that trap in Mina. I'd kind of forgotten what we'd done at Fit Property and what we'd done at Split the Bills, and I was in this place where I was like, right, well, we've got to do this properly. But in reality, what we still did at Mina was before we built anything, even though in the background we were looking at maybe like the interface and the technology, really what we did to validate it as a market was we went out and spoke to some businesses. We spoke to a very big company called Mighty, and they said, yeah, I've got this problem. If you can solve it, tell us where to sell it. Yeah. And that gave us the confidence to then go and build it. And it gave us, our investors, the confidence to invest. So yeah, I think, like you said, it's like just do the very bare minimum.
Yeah, because even when we built it, initially the product was, it was kind of a number of off-the-shelf solutions that we use for different elements of the product to make it work, to understand it as we go, to validate every part of it, because you've got this idea of validating the whole opportunity or the product, and that's important, but you also need to be validating the solutions and getting that constant validation of, yeah, there's a better way of doing this part of the process, there's a better way of doing that part of the process. And I do think it's a really easy trap to fall into, to say, I've got an idea, I need to build a product first, then I need to sell the product, and then once people start buying it, I'm going to get investment. And it's the wrong order to tackle that, and it's the riskiest way of doing it, because you're putting everything into a product that maybe people don't want or don't want to invest in.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but it's the logical way, right?
Yeah.
In your brain, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you said. So more red tape now in lettings than there was. Do you think it's harder to start a business now than it was 10 years ago?
No, no. I think it's easier to start now than it's ever been because there's so much information out there. You've got social networks, there's more support. I mean, we raised angel money to start Mina. I'd never even heard of angel money or investment when I started the previous two businesses. It was like go to the bank, which I did. They kind of lead you down this path of, oh yeah, fill in this form, do this. Clearly, we're never going to lend us any money because there's no security. So there was just a lot less support out there then. I think there's lots more people trying to start businesses now than there ever has been. Probably a lot more businesses failing than there has been, but that's probably just a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the barriers to entry are far lower than they've ever been.
Give us a summary of your kind of, I guess, your business career so far. Like, why did you kind of go into business at such an early age?
I think the why at an early age was because my dad worked for himself in his own business. And from as early as I can ever remember, I just remember thinking, I can't wait to get school done so I can just start my own business. No idea of doing what I was going to do. But I think school was like unremarkable, maybe. There's just nothing to say about it. Like, it wasn't particularly good or bad. But lots of people say to me, oh, did you come up with this idea while you were at uni? It's like, no, I never went to uni. But I do remember finishing my GCSEs, and maybe this is luck, maybe this is just looking for opportunity, but mini motorbikes, little bikes, were all the craze at that time. I wanted one. They were really expensive. So I thought, well, maybe if I buy in bulk, I could just sell the others.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's what I did. So got my dad to lend me some money, bought 10, sold 9 to friends of friends, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Made £100 on these bikes. So went back to the company I bought them from and said, like, can I buy more? Long story short, they said, if you buy a full container, that's how you'll get the best discount.
Right.
So I was like, how much is a full container? I don't know how much it was. It was like £50,000. Like, well, I haven't got £50,000. So they're like, well, we'll order it. When it lands, you need to pay us. If you don't pay us, we'll take, there are bags. So I was like, okay, great. So snuck an advert with some money that I borrowed from my dad in what was then the bike trader. Set up a phone line in my bedroom at home, and the card machine, all done through my dad, because I think, I don't know how old I was at the time, 16. I don't think I could open a business account. It was complicated. So yeah, sat in my room and answered phones and took deposits for mini bikes.
I didn't know that story.
Oh, you know that story? Yeah, I would love to find a picture of this setup, because I remember I had UPS would turn up every day. We'd get them all out of the garage, stick some labels on them and send them off. And it was great. It was really good fun until Christmas, when everyone got them and crashed them and broke them, and then everyone wanted the money back and warranty, and obviously you can't send these bikes back to China. So we ended up giving a lot of money back, probably, again, just naive to business. Like, I just said no, but, it's easier to not have the difficult conversation when you're 16 and people are ringing the phone in your bedroom. So that was fun, but it all ended very quickly, because nobody was interested in them after Christmas.
Yeah.
I'd probably undercut the market because I had no overheads, and everyone was catching on to that. So that was kind of first taste at business.
And what did you learn, or where did it leave you? Did it drive that motivation even more in terms of business?
I think so, yeah. I don't know where this next idea for a business came from, but it was like, right, what am I going to do next? I'm going to open a restaurant. I'm not interested in cooking, know nothing about food, but, this looks a good business. In some ways, thank God that didn't materialise, because I had a really hard business to be in. But then what I did after that was then start getting jobs at anywhere that I thought was a successful restaurant, food outlet. I worked at Subway, Domino's, Pret a Manger, TGI Fridays. And actually that kind of period went on for about 3 years.
That was specifically because you thought, I want to open a restaurant, so I'm going to go and get that experience. How old were you then?
17.
No, like, that's quite, like, I still see that thinking in you now. But it's quite mature thinking now.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe it was just like the logic, like we learn about taking a restaurant, you've got to go and work it well. And it was an incredible opportunity to learn. Like, they work, these big companies, forget what they sell, like they have these really good, rigid systems and processes for, I guess, scale, and it's just a machine. Even though they're making food, they could be making anything. So I kind of got stuck in that for a while. I think it was probably because it was good fun, and there's lots of people my age, and you just kind of get carried away with it. And then I remember getting the opportunity once to go on a manager's sort of training thing. You could become a manager. I was like, oh yeah, this would be good. And I had to kind of stop myself and go, absolutely not. Like, and in the middle of all that, this is where the kind of Fit Property was born from, because I was like, right, lots of student landlords in Sheffield. Everyone's letting their rooms by kind of handwritten notes in some cases, stuck in a ground floor bedroom window. Facebook was just becoming a thing. It was clearly people wanted to be online but didn't know how. So I started bringing these signs and saying, basically, look, I'll take some pictures and put you on the internet. And I bought a domain name, ulet.com.
No,
I still own it because I was like, it's a pretty good domain name. And the idea was basically Rightmove for student property. But that kind of then turned into, oh, will you do the viewings, and will you do this, and will you do that? And in hindsight, I should have just resisted all that and said, no, this is a tech company. But tech company was not a term then. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then just grew from there. Just grew from, yeah, I'll do some viewings, I'll move people in, I'll take some deposits. It was just made up. And the reason I don't think you could do it that way now in that industry is because there's just so much more regulation around it.
Yeah, if you were 17 now, you would still spot opportunities. There just might be, there'd be very different opportunities to what exists. The thing that I've always enjoyed working with you is your ability to spot those opportunities and to piece those things together and take learnings from one industry and apply them to other industries. Do you think does that just come naturally to you?
Yes, I think is the simple answer. Yeah, I know I drive my wife crazy because she's like, can't you just have a day where you just don't want to do something? Like, what's the point? I don't want to get to the end of the day and feel like I've not achieved something. So quite often, just when you're going about life, you think, oh God, there's got to be a better way to do this.
I think it's really easy to get the impression that, this stuff comes easily and almost you've been pushing on an open door and you've had lots and lots of business success. But there's been some really low points for you, right? Can you talk about some of those, like and how you pick yourself up and dust yourself off?
Yeah. So 3 businesses went into administration. So like, this is not like just success after success. It was mostly disaster after disaster after disaster, and then success after success after success. So yeah, you kind of got to hit the wall a few times. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that you start a business and put it into administration. There was a point where I was like, we're clearly no good at this. How do you just keep going? Talk about the first, without getting into loads of detail, we hit some really difficult stages with the business because we just ran out of money, I guess is the simple answer. But we ran out of money because we did some fundamental things badly, like manage cash flow. We didn't have any management accounts. So we started to go, right, okay, well, if we had them, this wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all too easy probably to give up. And maybe it was because of the stage I was at in my life where I didn't necessarily have massive commitments. It was easy to fail. So you go, right, well, I'm back to where I was before, don't have a mortgage, still living at home, let's just go again.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like, there was definitely a point, especially with split the bills, we got ourselves into a really bad place with one of the energy companies. We owed them a lot of money, or they said we owed them a lot of money. we were convinced we didn't. But when you've got a huge corporate saying, well, basically you've got 5 days to pay, or we're going to put you into administration, or sue you. There's not a great deal of places you can go, and that was the hardest part. It was you've got 50, well, we had probably more than 50 employees, and you then facing the task of saying to them, right, you no longer have a job, the whole business gone bust. But what we actually did was we just start again. So we started another business, re-employed everybody, told all the customers that this had happened, but next week you're all going to be part of this new business, Split the Bills 2.0 essentially. You know what? It's hard. I've not really ever gone back really and thought of how each day kind of panned out, because I can't imagine being able to do that again. Like, I think it's just it was relentless. I remember, like, it was just being in the office at 6 a.m, leaving the office at 9 p.m, going in the next day. Like, and you're just getting hammered from every angle. Like, Empower at the time want to, take everything you own, and then at the same time you're like, right, got to keep calm, because we don't want these people just to walk out, we don't lose the customers. But I think it was a few weeks after that where you kind of go, right, it's all over, it's all done, business as usual. And then I think I got depressed, because I was like, I don't know, it just hits you.
What year was that?
That was like 2018, 2019.
Because when we met, I think I could definitely feel that. I feel like you'd been through the ringer.
Yeah.
It wasn't a first impression, but as we talked more and as I understood things more, I definitely got the sense that it took you a while to properly come out of that, I think. And that was kind of well into the starting Mina. I guess those kind of scars sit with you for a long time, right?
Yeah, but in some ways I think that was the motivation to start Mina, because it was like, right, this is a really hard business. I just lost the love for it. Like, somebody else, it's turned out to be a pretty successful business under somebody else's ownership, but I just kind of lost the enthusiasm to keep driving it. Plus, I've seen this really exciting opportunity to do something with electric vehicles, and I think it was almost like, right, new purpose, and that's kind of what dragged me out of the depression, if you like. Right, here's something exciting to focus on, let's just get our head down and focus on that.
So that takes us to end of 2019, where you had the idea for Mina for a while. You've not kind of started kind of evolving the business or start the business. I think at that point, part of you was considering whether you would sit with and to split the bills, or whether you'd do it as a new business. Can you remember the early days of that kind of taking Mina from an idea into a reality? Did you approach that differently to when you'd started kind of previous businesses before?
Yes, differently, because I knew more, which was probably a good thing and a bad thing. So I approached it differently in the sense that, one, I was looking at this business thinking, this is going to be hard to generate revenue just from stuff that I can do.
Yeah.
Whereas the other two businesses, I could see I could do something. I could just open a spreadsheet and get the customer. Whereas this was a bit more complicated. This required integration to data and all that kind of stuff. But if I was to go back and do it again, I still would have validated more than we did. Like, in my head, we still had to build a product. So I think I'd kind of probably not realised that. I'd probably not realised that by accidentally starting Fit Property and Split the Bills, I'd probably done that or been forced to validate that, because I did not know there was money available. And now there's money available, it's like, oh, right, so I should go and make some money now, because this is what I hear is the right thing to do.
And I want to talk about raising money in a second. Did you go into Mina thinking there's certain types of people I need or certain experiences I need to help me get this off the ground?
Yes and no. I realised what I was good at. I've learned since starting Mina more about what I am good at and not good at. I definitely knew I needed someone like you. Someone that has all the skills or enjoys broadly doing the things that I don't enjoy doing. And I knew it was a tech business, and I knew from the last few years of Split the Bills that it's not a good idea to go to an agency to build a tech business, because fundamentally you need somebody who's owns that technology. So knew we needed a CTO or certainly a technical co-founder.
We're both interested in the startup world, right? And we're getting involved in supporting startups in lots of different ways. You've been quite key in setting up an angel group in Sheffield, which I'm also a member of. I'm obviously working with Carl at Trove, and so generally we're kind of speaking to startups a lot. I think there's two big questions that people ask. One is around investment, and I'll talk about that in a second. The other is around team and co-founders versus kind of employees versus agencies. What would your advice be to someone starting a business today? They're on their own, they have an idea. How do you think they should approach that process of the founding team or going it alone?
Based on my experience and having seen what has worked for others and not worked for others, I would say don't do it on your own. It's really hard to do it on your own. Figure out what you're really good at, what you really enjoy doing, like what you jump out of bed and want to do.
Yeah.
Make a list of all the things that you don't want to do, and go and find people that have got them skills. And I think 3 is a magic number.
Yeah.
Mainly because you can't get into a deadlock unless there's 3 different options. But generally there's 2 ways you can go, and 3 avoids the deadlock. So I would say you definitely don't go it alone.
And where do you find them?
It's hard. Where did I met you by total coincidence. I was not on a mission going, right, I'm going to find a co-founder today. I was on a forum in Sheffield. You'd said you'd moved to Sheffield from Manchester. I was like, oh, okay, this guy looks like he's had an interesting career. Let's go and have a chat. Was not planning to chat to you about this idea I got for me. I just thought, well, just welcome you to Sheffield.
The official ambassador for Sheffield.
Yeah, there you go. Here I am. But yeah, we just had a chat, didn't we? And then somehow got onto Mina, and then we thought, that just naturally just seemed to flow into.
I mean, your network is incredibly strong, both in Sheffield, but also generally in business. It's essential, isn't it? Like that network. And people talk about the importance of networking, and I think it sounds intimidating, especially if you're kind of younger or new to business. But at the end of the day, it's just about going and talking to people, and talking to people about things you're interested in, and being interested in what they're doing as well. Not having an agenda, not necessarily having something you want to push. It is literally just go and see who's out there, what interesting conversations you can have, share your experiences, and want to listen to what they're doing as well.
I don't know whether it's too to talk about this, but Sheffield Angels, this group we've sort of pulled together recently, and the people that are in that, like, how do I know some of those people?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those people I've not spoken to for years, and it's just like, okay, yeah, that person would be good. And some of it is just, 2 guys were our office neighbours, so we just got to know them. Another guy I just remember meeting at an event, and we ended up having a coffee afterwards. And the coffee came about just because I said, oh, you live in Sheffield. Oh, I live in Sheffield. Shall we have a coffee? It's a bit like, well, what for? But, then over that coffee, you sort of say, well, tell me about your background. And just stuff happens. And just getting to know people, I think, is so important and so powerful, because it is the power of people that make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Not in my experience, not the power of knowledge or what I know. It's who I know and who I can ask for help from.
Okay, so you and I met
Mm.
end of 2019.
Mm.
You'd known Andy separately, and we kind of came together as a three of us and said, "Yeah, we're gonna try and do this." But I think we all knew that to make it happen, happen at scale, we needed to go out and get investment. Neither of us had gone down the investment route before. I'd been involved in businesses that had raised, and I'd been kind of senior and been investor facing, and I'd gone through an IPO, but I'd no experience of VC or angel investment. How much did you know about angel investment before Mina?
Very, very little. We had gone through a period at Split the Bills, actually, where we did try to raise some money. And we got three people together. To be honest, we got to the stage where they were ready to invest. But I can't really remember, to be honest, how we got introduced to those three guys. One guy I did know because I knew through Fit Property, but there wasn't kind of any formal group, or there wasn't much information out there. So I knew very little. And I think we put loads of effort in, stuff that we just believed was true, or maybe stuff we'd read. So we spent hours and hours doing a deck. In fact, I remember being on a call with you, looking at an Excel spreadsheet for hours and hours and hours, and we were looking at all the detail, all the expenses, all the income, trying to map out this 5-year plan, thinking that's got to be important. I want to know that we know our numbers.
Yeah.
And I think now being on the other side, you realise none of that's important. And reflecting on reflecting on the reason we got money or raised money in Mina, I don't think a lot of it was because of the effort we put into those spreadsheets or that deck. It was because we got and we told investors a story.
So yeah, interestingly, on the deck, we had a meeting with the startup yesterday. So I went on my phone and brought up the old Mina deck, which in my head until that point was this very kind of compelling, lightweight storytelling deck that delivered loads of investment for us. The reality is not that, certainly, and it's very wordy and very laboured in places. And so I think while it's really important for startups to get their deck right, I'd say simpler is better, definitely. But actually, what people are looking for is the story, right? The narrative. Like, why these people? Why this problem is at scale? Have they actually solved it? What traction have they got so far? Because especially with angel investment, you just need that early validation.
Yeah, exactly. I think far too many people build a deck around the product or the problem or the solution, but actually what investors are investing in is your story. Like, I've lived this problem. This is how painful it is. This is why I know all about it, and this is why I'm in a good position to solve it.
And is that, you've done quite a few angel investments over the last couple of years or so. What makes a company stand out for you?
It's always the people. Yeah. It's always people. There's always a bit of, this sounds an exciting problem. I mean, if somebody came along and, came up with a business, I can't even think, but a business that is just like, well, that's just not a problem. I don't know, like a washing line that just opens itself. It's just, nobody's got a problem with opening a washing line. But maybe they have, right? Maybe if someone came along with a story and said, I've got this disability or something, and you know what, I've always struggled for years and years and years, and there's 10,000 people like me, so I developed this washing line that solves that problem. You'd be like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to start with the story, because the story is what angel investors are just buying. Do I like this person? Do I believe they can solve this problem, start this business?
Yeah.
When you get to VC, venture capital, or private equity, that's a whole different pitch. Yes. That is, these are the numbers, this is how we've performed month on month on month, and this is why it's going to continue to perform month on month on month.
At the time when you're raising angel, people say to you, this is the easiest money you'll ever raise.
Yeah.
At the time, you're like, that can't be true. This is hard work, right? And you end up doing the pitch over and over again. There's a huge amount of networking and research, and there's a lot of refining in place. But it's true, isn't it? It's the easiest money you'll ever raise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's easy because you don't have to back it up with anything really. You've just got to convince people that you've got this idea for a business and it's going to work, and you can put any numbers in front of people. I mean, I remember when we were pitching to angel investors, we got something like, right, well, the market in 2025 is going to be 250 or maybe 2.5 million electric vehicles, and we're going to have 250,000 drivers on the platform.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of made up, right? Because nobody knows how many electric vehicles they're going to be, and we had no idea how much of the market we're going to capture. But the point, all you're really trying to do is say, this is how big the market is, and this is how big we could be.
Yes.
You just have to believe me. Like, that's it, really. And a lot of angels, I think what they do is they go, I like this business, now I'm going to justify why I should invest in it.
Yeah. So you need to just give them the reasons, paint the picture as to why you're part of setting up an angel group in Sheffield. What was the motivation for working with Andy on setting that up?
So the story behind how it came to life was, again, accidentally, me and Andy Evans bumped into each other at a university event. We got talking and we realised that we were both investors in the same local business. Andy was also part of a group called Cambridge Angels, and he said it'd be great to do something like this in Sheffield. And I said, well, me and you are both invested in this same business and we didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
So there's got to be other people in our position that want to invest in businesses in the city. There's lots of founders that don't know where to go for money, and there's lots of investors that don't know how to find businesses to invest in. So we got together and said, well, let's just try and get people together for dinner, see who comes along, and just see what happens, really. In some ways, it is, even though this Sheffield Angels is not a business, it's just something we're doing to try and help investors in startups. We did approach it a bit like I would advise most companies to approach starting a business, which is what's the smallest possible thing we can do? Or we can get 4 people in a room and have a dinner. That shouldn't be too difficult. And it's amazing the momentum you get from that.
Yeah, and amazing how much Sheffield is crying out for that. And I know it's not a brand new thing. There are angels investors in Sheffield. It's nothing particularly kind of revolutionary. But I speak to a lot of people in the ecosystem, and it's the first thing they ask about usually. It's, I've heard about this angel network. How do I put people forward? Because that's the other thing in Sheffield. There's definitely a desire to support new startups. These aren't people who are going to make money from startups getting investment. They just want to see Sheffield businesses do well.
There's so many. It's amazing. As soon as you start doing something, what you then see that you didn't see before, which is like you said, all these startups. Like, you're in Sheffield Technology Parks, and suddenly you're exposed to people and businesses that we never knew existed.
Yeah.
And that's all from literally just going and working in a location.
What's your advice for anyone about to start that process?
It's really frustrating. It's really relentless. Like, you're up, you're down, you have a good meeting, you think, yeah, they're definitely in. They're going to put in 50 grand, and they go, I'll give you 5. You go, oh, right, okay. But you've got to keep going, but you've got to listen to the feedback. And as soon as you've got someone that's interested, I think what helped us was then that person then knowing somebody else that's interested. And I would say, don't be afraid to ask, like, do you know anyone else that might be interested in investing? Because 99 times 100, they will.
Yeah.
And if you can have, the more conversations you have, the more chance you've got of getting investment. And sometimes you've just got to just accept that that person won't invest, but this person will. So if I speak to more people like this person that wants to invest, I've got more chance of raising the money.
And often people don't invest, but it's not for necessarily a logical reason. It might just be that they don't know the industry, or they might have exhausted their allocation for that financial year that they want to spend on that thing. And I think not taking it personally is really important. There's an adage, isn't there, which is if you ask for advice, you'll get investment. If you ask for investment, you get advice.
Yeah.
And I think that does ring true. So the important thing is just to have those conversations, be open, and like say, ask, do you know anyone? If you're not going to invest, do you know anyone who can support me? Do you know anyone in this industry or this area? And also, I think going back to the idea of the deck, keep it simple, because what happens is an angel looks at it and goes, well, maybe I'll invest, but maybe not, but I'm going to forward it to my mate who I know invests in this kind of stuff. And it does want to stand on its own feet, but it doesn't have to answer every question. It needs to be, this looks interesting. Yeah, I'll pick up the phone to the founder and have a further chat.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be the level of detail where they understand it all, just on one read through.
Exactly. And I think that's what we learned last night, when you look back at ours. And we definitely made the mistake in the first deck, and even in the first period of Mina trying to solve too many problems. We were like, right, we'll do a consumer thing, we'll do a business thing, because the more revenue opportunities we've got, the better. And I think that's a mistake. Like, just pick something and focus on it, because you can expand later. Like Amazon, I know it's a bit extreme example, but they just sold books.
Yeah.
That was never, ever the plan. Jeff Bezos knew that he was going to sell millions of books, but that was a great way of making the business really simple to understand and getting the message out there to customers of we're the biggest bookstore in the world. Yeah, too many businesses try and just do everything all at once.
Yes.
You don't do anything very well.
Yeah, find your niche, nail the niche, absolutely address it 100%, and then it's land and expand. It's the expression. Thank you very much. I think for both of us, it's quite a cathartic experience to go back and talk about Mina, because, like we said at the beginning, you kind of just keep going. You sell, and you start literally you sign on the dotted line, and then you work for 2 years, incredibly hard still, at kind of during the kind of acquisition period, during the exit period. So you don't really get much time to reflect. And so I'm finding this period now I've finished, and it's really useful to go back and kind of remember some of the lessons, especially because I want to pass some of those lessons on to other startups. So it's been good to chat. Hopefully we can do another, and we are going to try and get Andy in as well and talk about the technical side. Before we go there, I suppose, quite an important time in your career and your business career and life, I guess, in terms of the size of everything that's happened over the last 5-6 years. What are you most looking forward to?
In some ways, I'm most looking forward to doing it all again, and trying to, it's almost like a challenge. It's like, right, I've done it and I exited this much. How can I do it again and do it for an even bigger amount? And I don't know why. It just feels like that's the exciting part. Everyone does it for the money, and you think, if I could make $1 million, it'd be great. If I could make 10 million, it'd be great. If I make 100 million, it'd be great. But I actually don't think it changes anyone's life significantly after a certain point. What's really exciting is just the journey. Even when you're in it and you hate it, and you think, oh God, I wish I could just put my feet up and stop work now. As soon as you put your feet up and stop work, you miss the excitement of being stressed and having all the problems that you wished at the time would go away.
But is it harder to go and do it again, knowing how hard it was with Mina?
I think it's probably maybe like having kids, where you kind of forget how hard the first 6 months was, so you want another one. I think there's definitely something in that. I think what's going to be hard is I have definitely got used to just doing more stuff that's not work. Yeah. So trying to find time to do all that stuff is going to be hard, because I spent 2 years being an employee essentially, and it's hard in different ways, but you definitely will end up working less hours. You know, people say, "Oh, you work 80 hours a week as an entrepreneur or as a person that owns their own business," and that's not every week, right? That's a bit extreme. But there's some days where you're just like, "I've been at this since 6 a.m. and it's now 9 p.m." And you just kind of live for work.
Yeah. But you still want to do it again.
Still want to do it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Been great chatting. Hopefully we get to do it again. Yeah, appreciate it. Cheers, Ash.
Great, thank you.